Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Pie to Pie. I'm your host, Alex Koons, and we are in Philadelphia for this one with Mark Mebus of 20th Street Pizza, formerly owned Blackbird before he shut that down, but now does Blackbird Wholesale Pizza and Seitan. Mark has been an inspiration to me over the years. To me, he has been making some of the greatest vegan pizza ever created. 20th Street was a huge inspiration to Hot Tongue. Mark also was part of Screamer's Pizza in New York City, which could be considered some of the best vegan pizza in the United States. Anything this man touches turns to gold. We talked about nerding out on dough. We talked about seitan creation, a little bit of wholesale, flour, nerd stuff. But we talked about the struggle of having to close down a restaurant because a building was literally going to fall. Mark is an incredibly humble dude. He loves the dough. He loves the process of making bread. He's making the dough every day at 20th Street. He loves the process. His name doesn't need to be front and center on the frozen pizza brand that he has. It's all about the food. It's all about the process. You can hear the passion when Mark talks about his food. Mark was super cool, super down to earth, super nice guy, and I know you're gonna enjoy this episode. Always nugs of knowledge, crumbs to follow. He's inspired me. I hope this conversation is inspiring to you. Mark Mebus, keep on rocking in the free world. Alice Cooper Band forever. Coming to you live from Philly. Enjoy Mark Mebus, 20th Street Pizza. We're here. 20th Street Pizza with Mark Mebus. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I am.
All right. So what attracted you to pizza and who ultimately taught you how to make it?
So pizza, I've always loved pizza. I've always loved cooking. Pizza is, in my opinion, the greatest food. And I think American nationwide agrees. So I've just always loved it, as a kid growing up. Nobody taught me to make it. So I just kind of did it myself. I was cooking at a place in New York called Blossom. And so after I got done my shift there, I would just mess around with dough recipes and stuff like that. So kind of just winged it up there until I had something that I liked.
And then how did you make a transition into the restaurant space, like the pizza? How did we get here?
So I was already involved in cooking. It was all vegan restaurants.
The Blossom, is it still open? They reopened that?
I'm not sure actually. I think they may have one open. The one that I worked in on the Upper West Side, I was the chef up there, and that is closed. But that was just a lease thing or something. I think they did move to another location there. But it was cool. It was great. But I knew that if I always wanted to do something that was like a more casual restaurant.
And it was always going to be, you always wanted to do pizza.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to do a pizzeria for sure. Part of that was, obviously we're all vegan. And me and my friends, we would talk to people about what all the time in New York at that time, people would be like, oh, I could never go vegan because of pizza. That was the big thing. So for us, I think we were yeah, we got to tackle this pizza issue, and see what we can do with it. So
yeah.
So that was always it. And then there was a place that was a pizzeria in Philadelphia that my friend was about to open a vegan coffee shop down here, and he found a pizzeria for sale that everybody knew that used to sell some vegan slices. And so I just went and checked it out, and then we made a deal on that place.
And that was the first Blackbird?
And that was the first Blackbird, yeah.
Are you from Philly?
Yeah, I'm from the suburbs here.
Okay.
So I grew up in Bucks County, spent most of my time in Philadelphia, skateboarding or going to punk shows and things of that nature. And then when I was 22, I moved to New York to go to this hippie culinary school because it was the only vegan culinary program. Then I stayed up there and worked for a little bit and kind of moved back and forth between.
And so this opportunity kind of landed in your lap? Was there
completely
were you searching for a space, or did you have your recipes dialed in? Like where were you before? Or was it like, oh shit, I'll shit or get off the pot kind of situation?
Well, we already kind of had like an idea of what we wanted to do. So we were loosely looking in New York, actually. And then the space that the original Blackbird was in did really just fall in our lap. And it was just, things in Philadelphia are pretty inexpensive in the grand scheme of things to get a place going. So, I just went and checked it out. I was already familiar with the place and the location and everything like that. And it was a deal that me and my friend could do almost by ourselves. We just got some other friends to chip in with personal loans and things like that.
So you had a business. You had a business partner, or do you still have that same business partner?
Oh yeah, I still do. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
My friend Ryan, and he's in with me on everything and has been on everything. Yeah.
Okay. Does Ryan cook pizza?
No, he's like a web design guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just he's the behind the scenes kind of guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Through the years, how much has your pizza changed? I mean, obviously, we're talking about Blackbird, the first Blackbird, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a second one, and then tell me about why not just open a third Blackbird?
The dynamic of Blackbird was pretty different. It was it was a pizzeria, but it was probably known more for sandwiches and wings and things like that.
That
cheesesteaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my heart was always in pizza. That was what I wanted to do. I really sold sandwiches just because there was a grill in the place that we took over initially. And I was like, all right, well, I can do this. Let's sell sandwiches as well. But I wanted to focus purely on pizza. So I felt like if I just called this place Blackbird, 3 or something, then I think the expectation would be, they have cheesesteaks and wings and this and that.
Yeah.
And also it's once you get to a certain point, the pizza that I was making here, it's pretty different than at Blackbird. Everything here is sourdough crust. We use pretty expensive ingredients. Not that, everything at Blackbird was good too, but it wasn't it wasn't of the same level of quality that I'm using here. So I was just kind of going in a different direction. This was more of a passion project, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That first location, we were talking off camera. That first location got abruptly closed. I love for people to hear other people's scariest moments.
Sure.
And just because I want everyone to know how fucking crazy it is to be in this industry, and that we're all going through some crazy stuff. So I don't know if you want to kind of share what happened. You said it was the worst time of your life. So if you want to relive that right now on camera,
I would love to.
Yeah.
It was probably the single most stressful event of my life.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it was it kind of started the previous, we closed in March, and the previous October was when I noticed that the exterior wall of the building was starting to bow out, the bricks were.
How long had you been open?
At that point, we had been open for about 6 years.
Okay, so it's 2016 now.
Yeah, and we had just, it was 6, maybe almost 7. It was just about, or maybe we had just gone into our 7th year, actually.
Okay.
And we had just opened the second location over in another neighborhood called Northern Liberties. And I just noticed the bricks were bowing out. So I called the landlord. He got a structural engineer over there the next day. He didn't drag his feet on it. And that guy said, I think it's going to be fine. We can deal with this on the exterior of the building, and you'll be able to stay open. You might have to close for a week or so, but it won't be a big deal. I said, okay, this is kind of frightening, but sounds like it's going to be fine. And then, the license and inspections in Philadelphia, they're notoriously slow at doing anything and everything. And they really drag their feet, and on issuing a permit to a contractor. So he didn't end up looking at it until March. And he basically said, you got to close right now, So it was just the plug was just pulled, which was crazy. We were very busy. We were flying. The whole reason that we opened a second location was because the first location got too busy. Like, I've never wanted to own like an empire of Blackbird pizzerias or anything.
Yeah.
It was literally a function of the original location being just like too crazy.
Yeah.
We wanted to take some heat off it. So it's crazy, man. I mean, and you know, when a business closes like that, you know, you're like, you know, there's tons of bills that have to be paid. Like, there's still a whole backlog of things that are going on that you have to deal with. And, you know, luckily some of the business did go over to the new location that we had just opened. But I mean, it was pretty crazy, man.
I mean, what happens in that situation where it's like, all right, you're forced out? Like, what happens with your lease, with your equipment? Is there insurance money, your employees? Like, how the fuck did you have to figure all that out?
Insurance didn't cover anything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because they always find a way to get around.
Isn't that anything. Great?
Yeah, always great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the equipment, so they had to build a structural wall right up the center of the kitchen on the inside to hold the building up. So all the equipment that was in there was actually like in jail for 2 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it was just like, you know, it was crazy. The lease, you know, we didn't have to keep paying on the lease.
Yeah.
You know, my landlord was a very reasonable person in general. But I think it would be crazy to make somebody pay a lease in that situation.
Well, some people might have.
Some people may.
Yeah.
Right. As far as employees go, just had to do the best that we could. I mean, we only had one restaurant then that used to be two. So we moved some people over and just tried to work it all out. You know?
Yeah.
But it's impossible to keep everybody on in that situation. I mean,
yeah, I can just only imagine like how devastating just like a revenue stream just abruptly being like, nope, later.
I mean, yeah, and it's crazy. And being that we had just opened the second location. So, I mean, you can imagine like how much it costs to open a pizzeria,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
And
the other one helped supplement the other one.
Yeah, so we had used like a lot of our own money to do it. And that kind of like totally sunk us too. So we were just like, I mean, financially, like personally, you know, I mean, it was a blow to me that was like, I just couldn't come back from. You know? I mean, it was brutal, man. So.
And then what was the ultimate decision to close down that Blackbird?
That was purely the pandemic.
It was just like, yeah.
Yeah, like the lease was up. So that was a 5-year lease. And so the lease was up right in the middle of it. And at that point, we were kind of like just hemorrhaging money. I mean, it wasn't, it would have been a really bad roll of the dice to sign a lease extension at that point. So
what were your, like, an estimated costs for getting both of those stores up and running?
Not too bad. The original Blackbird we did for only like $70,000 all in, because there was like a bunch of like really beat up equipment that was already there that we bought off the previous tenant for $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kind of like made it work with that stuff that was there.
Yeah.
Some of it was unusable, some of it was usable, and we made it happen. The second one was already a restaurant, so we maybe spent $150,000 in a like build out on that to turn it into a pizzeria.
Also, very good actually.
Yeah.
What about this place though? You said this was a cell phone store. What was this?
Yeah.
Was it?
No, it was like a computer store.
Computer store.
Yeah.
So you did a full build out here.
Yeah, completely. And one of my business partners here is the contractor who did the build out. And it took like 3 years and was pretty brutal. I think by the end of it all, we spent like $350 about.
Yeah. And
we were hoping it was going to be far less than that.
Of course.
Obviously. But there was tons of problems with the building that you just don't find out until you rip it all apart.
Yeah, and you find dead bodies in the wall and stuff.
Yeah, or you find like beams that have been completely compromised, so you have to like rebuild the structural elements of the floor and things like that. You have to redo all the electric. You have to all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah, it's like it looks
it's
good
crazy.
until you start till you look under the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like, it was my landlord from the original Blackbird. He's since sold it, but, and he gave me like a great deal on it. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it,
Yeah.
but he was like, yeah, you just have to take it as is. I was like, great. Yeah. So I'll never do that again.
Were you paying rent while this was being built out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so he gave us a good deal on the rent.
Okay.
And that was cool. And it was a long lease. So I'm set up here for a long time, which is great. So there are definitely positive elements to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we had known going in that we were going to spend that amount of time and money on the build out, I mean, I don't honestly know that I would have done it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one of those things that if they told you at the beginning, you'd be like, meh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would there ever be any plans to try to reopen a Blackbird?
Probably not at this point.
No.
No, I mean, I just feel like, I feel like it's run its course, for me.
You don't have anything to do with like the Blackbird frozen pizzas or anything.
I do, yeah.
Holy shit. Are you serious?
Yeah, that's the seitan company that we started. So initially we started selling seitan and then we made frozen pizzas. Yeah, I did all that. I'm going to New York tomorrow.
I thought it was a coincidence, dude.
Oh, it is not? No.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, holy shit. How did you tell me about how that happened.
Okay, so what happened was, we early on at Blackbird, we were using, I'll just go through the whole from the beginning here.
Sure.
We were using Upton's Naturals seitan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know them.
The OGs, dude.
Great people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Dan. Anyway, and they were shipping it to us UPS, and UPS messed up, and I just didn't get the shipment. And I was like running out of seitan. And at that place, like the cheesesteaks were the whole thing. So without the seitan, I was like screwed,
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I know how to make seitan. I haven't done it in years, but let's see what we can do. I know more about gluten structure now than I did before. And I just kind of like figured out the recipe then on the spot, and how to make it softer and a little better than what I thought was available at the time. And so that was kind of like the birth of it. So it started out, once I did that, I started making it for ourselves. I still got sausage and pepperoni from Upton's pretty much for the whole time that Blackbird was in business. And then I started making seitan at Blackbird in the back and delivering to some restaurants around town. And then what we ended up doing ultimately was teaming up with a few friends of mine in New York who had a juice bar called Terry that was around for many years, and they had a commissary space. So we went into business with them, and we started the seitan company formally there, and originally just did wholesale, and then moved into retail and built it up to what it is now, which I'm like way less involved now in the day-to-day. I pop in here and there, and if there's a food issue, I'm really the food guy.
Yeah.
So everybody else does the business things, but they just ask me about recipes and stuff, and if we're gonna do a new product, they'll get.
How did you just? I love just like how casual it sounds. Like, yeah, we just start making some seitan. Got up together with some friends. We do some wholesale now. And then we're, like now you're in grocery stores in California, but like distribution wise, and like I talked to Ben too about like, do you have to get like certain permits to sell wholesale seitan? Like, is it?
I don't.
You don't have to worry about any of that,
right? So,
So, do you know how you guys distributed it? Like, how did you get it into places?
Well, I mean, like we're in like UNFI and KeHE and all the major like, national natural food distributors.
Yeah.
And so that's a process to get into those things. Like, I mean, you just have to have like a certain amount of insurance and all this, and you fill it out. It's like, we started out early on, we would get it into like some Whole Foods around here and just deliver it ourselves. But getting into the big distributors was like the major thing. But so maybe like, I want to say 5 years ago, we hired somebody to be the CEO, this guy Manuel, who's awesome. And he he really has done most of growing the business to what it is, in my opinion.
So then you were doing seitan, but like, how did the frozen pizza come to be?
Oh, well, we just wanted to make frozen pizzas because like I don't know, we felt like all the vegan frozen pizzas out there just weren't very good.
Yeah. There's like Amy's and like then everything else is kind of
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't really love frozen pizza anyway,
I
obviously.
feel like there's like a time and place though, you know, it's like when you're like
There always
either
is.
like really hungover or you're like, I just want to eat some shitty fucking thing.
I mean, it's a great thing to have around, right? So, and you know, I mean, we just thought there should be a better option out there. So that was the whole motivation to do it. We were already selling the seitan retail, and we thought like, oh, well, that'll be a good thing to get into. So we kind of got into it without really even looking into how like terrible like the margins are on frozen pizza or anything. I mean,
they're that bad.
Oh, it's brutal, man. I mean, they're actually like, I think it's like the worst thing possible, because I mean, if you think about it, like if you make like a 10-inch pizza, you're like, what does a pizzeria sell for? You know, they probably sell it for like $15 or something, you know. Selling it to a distributor and then to a grocery store, like we're selling to the distributor for like $4.
Yeah, and that's like,
so like, how do you even do that?
Pizza
on
only
a
costs
product?
like and the whole pizza costs $3. You're like making a buck.
Yeah, so like
that's interesting. Because
yes.
I've always wondered like, why isn't there better frozen pizza? And that's probably the reason.
Yeah, that's why it's like really hard. Like, so you have to sell like a whole lot of it. So you pretty much just have to like get to a point where you can produce that amount. So it requires a ton of like investment, you know, so that you can operate for a long time without making a profit.
So did you guys have to go get equity?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah. So like we've
major
done
investors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done like a few rounds of, not like I mean, it hasn't been like we haven't done like a real big like round of investment yet. But we have raised money on multiple occasions. So
nice.
It's worked out so far.
Yeah. And so like what, you just got like a percentage of that?
Yeah, I mean, there's like many owners at this point. Yeah. It started out just the
shareholders.
4 of us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And so, so at this point, I mean, I probably only own like 10% of it, if that.
Yeah.
But you know, whatever, man. I mean, to me, it's not really about that.
It's pretty fucking cool.
I mean, we were all just like to do it.
Frozen pizza.
And we're really excited to like see it grow. I mean, now we got like frozen wings out there. We're developing a couple other things, so it's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a kind of an oversaturated market now. Like with
totally is.
Yeah, it's like you know, it probably would have been like way cooler like in 2015, but like I'm sure like the competition is probably pretty fierce because that aisle, the plant-based aisle, just keeps growing. Maybe not in the best
big time, man. Yeah, there's like there's a million options for everything.
Yeah, vegan food's hard to take pictures of because it doesn't. Cheese is beautiful when it melts. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then vegan cheese is kind of gross.
A lot of times, yeah. You know? Yeah, a lot of times.
But when your dough profile is like so pretty and you kind of have all the caramelization and then like, you know, the way that you've built your pizzas. Like I take a lot of pride in the way that the stuff pictures it Hot Tongue, but it's like I was heavily inspired when opening up Hot Tongue to 20th Street because it was the best looking vegan pies I've actually ever seen. I wanted to try.
Oh, thanks so much.
We fly into Philly all the time because I have family in New Jersey, and you know we came here on Thursday, and it was exactly how I thought it would be. It was great.
Awesome.
You can tell that there's like a long history in how you've gotten here. You know, I think you can taste like the hard work in your pizzas.
Thanks, man.
That being said, like when you went from Blackbird to kind of this idea, like you have a pizza master here. Did you want to change flours? You wanted to do sourdough. Like how is that something you were kind of already doing or like playing around with at Blackbird?
So I've always loved bread baking. So it kind of started with a love for that. And it's also kind of how I got to making seitan and developing that whole thing too. It's just because paying attention to gluten structure. So at Blackbird, I mean, I wasn't as far along in my journey of it all, but it's really been an evolution the whole time. I've been changing things pretty much constantly. It feels like for 14 years. So.
Yeah, well, that's I guess how you like stay getting better. It's interesting. Like, do you make your own seitan here?
I don't make it here. We don't use it really here much at all.
Do you use beehive pepperoni?
I do.
Shout out Ben.
Yeah. Ben's awesome.
And do you use their crumbled sausage too?
I don't.
What was the sausage I had?
So that was just Beyond for now, but I'm gonna be making just making Italian sausage out of like vegan pork essentially. I just started using more of like that stuff just because at the end of the day, I think I just have to go with whatever makes the better pizza and not to down talk my product or anything. I just think seitan has certain applications that it's great for. And I like some of the vegan meat alternative products more for what they're meant to do, which is mimic sausage or really pork and beef and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I make meatballs here too, and I blend together like vegan pork and vegan beef and just pretty much do what you would do with a traditional meatball recipe and do the whole thing.
Yeah. Do you make your own cashew mozzarella?
So we don't make that here. That's actually so I make something out of two products from a local cheese company.
Okay.
That's like kind of like a ricotta like cheese that we dollop on top.
Yeah, your lemon ricotta.
Right? So we sell it as a side with lemon in it, and then I kind of use it as one of the two cheeses that we top some of the pieces with. But it's from a local company called Bandit, and they make like the best cashew cheese I've ever had in my life. They're awesome.
Yeah. Why do you think so many vegan cheeses are disgusting?
I guess it depends what you're comparing it to.
Well, you're obviously we're comparing it to mozzarella, which
if
is
you're
like
comparing it to dairy cheese, then it's
not good.
Pretty awful. And I think that's mostly because it is dairy cheese is protein based in the way that it's the casein.
Yeah.
So vegan cheeses, to replicate it, they're all trying to get the texture from starches, and that's a pretty difficult thing to do.
I just feel like I've had this conversation many times.
I'm sure.
I just feel like that instead of trying to imitate things and put so much energy and power into that maybe just like kind of modifying it and not having like the expectation bias, like creating a thing that doesn't have to be called cheese,
right? That
has similar aspects that a cheese would, but like have it sit on its own thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
Would make a lot more sense in this vegan world. Right.
I think that. So for a while, I was just using the cashew mozzarella from Banda, and I think that there's just a expectation among consumers that it's gonna like stretch.
Yeah.
And when it does it, we heard it all the time. They were like, "What's this creamy stuff on top of the pizza?" We were like, "That's the cheese," So everybody thinks it tastes great, but I think there is a textural component that is desirable to people for it to just have some kind of like stretch to it.
Yeah.
And that's like what the search is.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff in development right now that I can't wait till comes out that should be like vegan casein. So I don't know if you've
cultured whatever. What is it called?
New Culture.
New Culture. Yeah, they're at they're in Los Angeles. At Mozza at Nancy Silverton's place.
Cool.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You're skeptic. Huh?
I'm very skeptic. Philly's got a pretty sick vegan scene, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's awesome.
My wife went to Veg last time.
Cool.
Ben was talking about Veg and just like how it was like one of their best vegan meals they both had eaten.
Awesome.
I went to years ago. I think it's still open. Charlie Was a Sinner. Yeah. Obviously, everything that you've done here in the city. I mean, Philly just seems like it. Not only just vegan stuff. The food scene here is like insane.
Yeah,
and pizza, really.
I think so. I mean, I think Philly's awesome, man.
Me too.
Yeah. Veg is pretty well known. There's a few newer restaurants that are, I think, like absolutely excellent. There's a place called Primary Plant-Based, it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a fantastic sit-down place that's not super fancy, but not super casual either, but it's excellent. Everything there's great. And then there's a newer place called Petramala. That's actually in the space that Blackbird was in. And that's like the most innovative like vegetable food you're ever going to have in your life.
Okay, interesting.
It's insane. Yeah. Definitely check it out.
It's been cool to see that, like, on best pizza lists that you're included.
Yeah,
in Philly.
It is exciting.
I have, I think my food's pretty fucking good, right? But
yeah.
I've never made a best of list, and I've always chalked it up to be like, it's because I'm vegan and like blah blah. Maybe
sure.
maybe my food just sucks, and like that's the reason. But I think that like that's pretty fucking sick. Like being in the fold, because it's like whether there's cheese on pizza or not, like you're one of the best in your city.
One thing about Philadelphia that I think has always been true is I don't feel like people here care that much about the labels of the thing. I think it's really like, is this delicious or not delicious? And that's what I've seen, I guess that's kind of like a difference between here and New York that I say. Like in New York, it was very much like, oh, is this or is it that? And that could just be my experience, I don't know. But in Philadelphia, I think like, we have people, even though it says vegan on the sign outside real big, we got people that come in all the time and they have no idea that it's vegan. And some people have been in like, it's like the third time and they're like, wait a second, this is vegan,
Yeah.
And I really think it's just a matter of like, people just want food that looks good and tastes good.
Yeah.
And I think people in Philly are pretty accepting of whatever you're doing as long as it's getting the job done,
Well, it's getting the job done. I mean, and also, I really do think it helps that like your pizza, looking at your pizza, you would never know that it's vegan.
I think appearance in food is a huge thing.
Yeah, because you eat with your eyes first. So
Totally.
It's like, if they're not, I don't want to say the word fooled, but if they're like, there's no expectation of something sucking.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
there's
totally.
a lot of weight behind the word vegan. I mean, for people that don't eat vegan all the time, it can be already off-putting.
Yeah, I know. I have like, there's part of me that regrets putting it on the sign, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because of what you just said, I think like it's such a loaded term now where people are, people see it and like sometimes people are turned off by it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have no way of knowing because some of those people will
never
walk
come
in the door.
Yeah, well, it's because it only takes one bad experience with vegan food to like never really eat it again. Because, I'm sure that you didn't open up this restaurant for vegans.
No, I mean like this restaurant, right? I mean, nobody that opens a vegan restaurant, they don't open it. It's not like a dinner club just for vegan.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. So you have to, your objective has to be to make it the most delicious looking food that exists.
Yeah. So. Is there a hard like what's one of the harder things of being an all vegan restaurant?
I think what we're talking about right now is one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
I mean, because public expectation is a thing that is hard to overcome. I think another, just in the world of pizza, specific to right now, the one thing that's a little difficult is actually that vegan options are so widespread that. If people can get a vegan pizza from essentially any pizzeria at this point, which I'm not complaining. I want there to be vegan options everywhere. Just
of course.
FYI. But it does mean that, how many people are going to go past their neighborhood pizzeria and try to find parking in Rittenhouse just to get a vegan pizza from me when they can get it from wherever.
Yeah.
So all vegan places are at a kind of competitive disadvantage in that way. If it's a product that people can get from multiple,
I would 100%
places.
Agree with that sentiment. I mean,
it's what it is, man.
And then obviously, not all vegans just only hang out with vegans, and I know there are some that only hang out with vegans. But the reality is too that like if they're with their other friends, they'll be like, okay, yeah, well, we can go there. I can eat blah blah blah.
Sure,
you know what I mean. So that can be tough. has there been there's been a huge influx of pizzerias in Los Angeles opening since 2020. Has there been any kind of boom here in Philly that you've seen in pizza, or was it kind of already like pretty well established and booming? I know the scene out here is pretty solid.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as I can remember, there's been lots of pizzerias in Philadelphia. I think there's like, I don't know what the breakdown would be, but it's got to be, as far as major cities go, it has to be one of the like most densely pizzeria'd cities that exist. I think in terms of like, what a lot of like higher quality shops that have opened, like it's been a recent, like in the last 10 years, it's kind of been a big boom, I think everywhere,
Yeah.
It's a big slice shop renaissance in New York and everything. So there have been more modern shops that have opened in the last like decade here, but there's always been like a ton of pizza in Philly for sure. I mean, it's just like, I think a part of the city for, it's not as popular as cheesesteaks here, but but it's still like one of the core foods that people get.
Yeah. So Screamers, one of the, they have just a shit ton of followers on Instagram, but every person that comes into Hot Tongue and they're from the East Coast, they always say, have you ever heard of Screamers?
Oh, really?
And it's like,
that's awesome.
It's like, yeah, I have. I know Screamers. I got it. They're huge. What was your involvement with Screamers?
So at the beginning of Screamers, it was a collaboration between Champ's Diner and Blackbird. So Ryan and I, it's the other owner of Blackbird. We owned, I think we owned 30% of it to start out with. So it was just like a team up kind of situation. They already had the space because they were running like a Champ's like satellite location there that just like didn't work out or whatever. So it was pretty easy. It was we were able to just like get it done and up and running in like what seemed to like a month. Like it was like crazy. And the place was super small, like 400 square feet, the entire restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been there.
My wife's been there and she's like,
it was
I
crazy.
talked to her. Yeah.
Like you're like, you're making pizza and you're like accidentally bumping up to the mixer that's behind you that's running, making dough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's like super tiny. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. And yeah, we got it up and going. And the first summer that we were open was great because I had the time then to work there pretty much the whole summer.
So you just like moved to New York for 3 months?
I just commuted from here.
Holy shit. What's the commute from Philly to New York?
It's like 2 hours. It's not too bad. Yeah.
Well, 4 hours every day is.
Well, I could say my business partner lives like
Okay.
a few blocks from there. It did at the time, so I would like stay at his place and stuff. So it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good. And I'm used to driving back and forth to New York.
So did you do a lot of that menu?
The original menu, I did the whole thing. Yeah. So the original menu and all the original recipes was pretty much all me. But then beyond that, I didn't have a lot of involvement. I mean, I was just like too busy with everything else going on. So. And Brad, who owns Champs and all those places, he was a pizza guy in a past life, so he was able to do take all that over. No problem.
Did Champs close down?
I believe so. Yeah. I think that was another recent thing. I don't know what the deal is there though.
Yeah. You just keep in contact with the
I don't
people?
really.
No.
We ended up pulling out of the business mostly just because we weren't involved at all at a certain point, and but no bad blood or anything.
Yeah, it's like you had your hands in a lot of things.
Yeah, too much, right? So like that's what for me. My objective is really I love making pizza and I just want to make pizza. So being involved in so many things, it really took me out of making pizza.
Yeah.
So I kind of just tried to get back to that as much as I could. So, and that's kind of still where I'm at, I guess.
Well, I mean, now you have this. It sounds like the Blackbird, the wholesale stuff's not like really taking a major piece of your time.
No, not really at all. Yeah.
Are you here every day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're open 6 days a week now, and I come in some capacity every day. The only day that I don't make pizza is Sunday, and I just have my daughters with me on Sunday, so I try to keep that as a family day,
Yeah.
And but other than that, I really try to be here as much as possible. Yeah.
Do you want another one of these?
I don't.
No.
No. I mean, I would think about it. I would think about doing something like that down the line. I always want to stay open to, whatever possibilities may present themselves. But I really like the idea of, if I can make it work, financially and everything, to just like be a pizza guy forever,
Yeah.
to be honest. I know that most people don't. Most people want to like start like an empire or something, but I still get pretty excited just like taking the thing out of the oven and like looking at the different characteristics of that individual pie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like, I just feel lucky to be able to be doing something I enjoy so much,
Yeah.
know? So I kind of just try to focus on that. Yeah.
It's definitely a change going from like multiple units to then just like really being able to concentrate on this one. And
It's very different.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and initially with Blackbird, I felt like everything was so rushed. We were growing, got really busy really fast, and I felt like it was kind of like off the rails a little bit, which I was like doing what people were recommending that I do, but to me, I expansion and things like that, it wasn't really where my heart was at. It wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And it just kind of got away from me. I kind of got out of what I wanted to do initially. I mean, I went into cooking because I love to cook.
Yeah.
So that's still where I'm at. I still love it, so I don't know.
And is pizza better on the East Coast?
I wouldn't know because
Dude, everyone has been so nice about this question, which is so funny.
well,
Yeah.
and if you're just talking about just the pizza itself,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I've never been to California, so I can't speak to
You
quality.
can we're in a safe space though.
Okay.
You can be honest with me. You can say, yeah, fuck yeah, it is.
Well, so here's the thing. I actually don't think it's inherently better in any area or location. I think it's completely up to who's making it and their skill level and what they're doing. So when people say that pizza is inherently better on the East Coast, I think they're just like full of shit. I don't see how it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I think that pizza culture maybe is better in New York
Yeah.
than anywhere. But as far as the pizzas themselves, I mean, I think it's ridiculous to say that location has anything to do with the quality of a pizza.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah,
Great answer.
it's all down to the artist, man. It's
yeah.
all down to what the person's doing with it,
Yeah, and it's
So-
really all down to like whoever's eating it. You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
they're gonna fucking
And like what they think is a great
Good
pizza.
pizza, yeah.
I mean, like nostalgia plays a gigantic role.
Yeah.
In all of it. So.
When I ate at Blackbird years ago, you were getting a delivery and you were using patent flour, the King Arthur red bag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I thought the pizza was really good.
Yeah.
And I think I was using, what was I using at the time? It doesn't matter. I don't need to say their name anyways because they're not giving me money. But I went back to Purgatory and I got that red bag because it's
nice.
a lower protein than like what I was using.
Yeah, that one's like 12.8%.
Which was much like usually like New York style. You're up into like 14 sometimes.
Yeah. I like pizza to be more in the 12 to 13% range, personally, and that's still what I think.
Yeah, no, like it changed how I made pizza because
nice.
I got that flour. I found out that the protein percentage was lower, and then like I started messing around a lot more with my dough kind of after that trip, and yeah, I mean like I'm in like low 11s now. I used what kind of what can you say what kind of flour you use here?
Oh yeah, totally. So I use like a few different flours. So right now, and now I'm pretty locked in to where I'm at. I've used many different flours since we've been open here, but right now I'm using the reinforced 00 flour from Central Milling. That's probably the major flour in the dough. And then I use some of the Sir Galahad flour from King Arthur, which is a regular workhorse all-purpose flour. And then I get like a locally milled flour that's a Redeemer wheat. And that's from this mill called Lost Bread Company, who also makes awesome bread.
How much is that locally milled flour? Is it like fucking...
Oh my God.
3 times the price of a regular bag?
It's like 120 a bag.
Yeah, for like a 25 pound or 50 pound bag?
For 50 pounds.
Yeah, it's funny.
But honestly, it's very worth it. I mean, like that gives more characteristic to that's probably only about 12% of the final dough, but it adds a lot of character to it. So I think it's a very necessary part of it. For a while, I was like milling my own like spelt and stuff in the basement here and putting that in. But at the end of the day, some of the tougher wheats, the countertop mill, I think maybe I'm just not a good miller, but I think it didn't turn out as well. So I just leave it to the professionals and get it.
Yeah.
And this local mill really does the best job with flour that I've ever seen. So.
That's tight. Did they build their own mill?
I don't know actually what their mill is. It's a stone mill, but I don't know what the situation is with it.
I do kind of the same thing. I use Karen Springs. I use Central Milling, and then I use a locally like ground like hard red wheat flour, wheat berry from California. It's all organic, but like it's for 50 pounds, it's like $210.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's like when I go to pick up the bag or like the bag's in the back, you can smell the grain.
Oh,
like,
totally.
It's like it's warm. It's like it's milled every week, so
it's awesome.
It does add. It's like a 10 to 12%, and it's those small things. Plus, it's for you. You know, like you're the guy who loves cooking, and it's like. This makes me feel good. Which, if we took it out, who knows if anyone else would know? But like, you know,
I think they would know.
You think so?
Yeah, I've like, I've had times where I wasn't using whole grain flour in, and when I would put it back in, maybe it was just circumstantial, but I did notice customers would be like, "Man, the crust is really great today," you know?
Yeah.
And I would be like, "Oh, it's not just me."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's not just me being a total bread nerd, you know?
Whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's worth it, man. I think it's always worth it. I mean, you got to do those things to give it individual character as well, you know? I mean, the dough is like an extension of yourself in a way, you know, as a pizza maker. So
no, I totally agree. I think that especially being obviously not all vegan, but doing most vegan stuff for me personally is like, if you don't use cheese, that fucking bread better be the best thing in the world, because that's.
I mean, I think with all pizza though, right? I mean, like I think the crust is it. Like that's like 90% of what makes pizza good.
Yeah, but that's like where the saying comes from. Like all pizza, even bad pizza is good pizza, and the reason that is because like you can take something like tomatoes and cheese that are inherently delicious.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And put it on top of some flatbread, and it's going to be fucking bomb. I mean, like, as long as you just salted your dough enough, like, you're good. But even if you didn't and it was on naan bread, like, it'd still be fucking good.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, naan is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty good. But sometimes it's flavorless. I don't know. If you could give your younger self some advice, if you could go back to 2010, right when you're opening up Blackbird, what would you tell yourself?
Ooh, that's a pretty hard question, actually.
Don't do it.
That is almost what I was thinking. Don't do a lot of it, I think, is actually what I would tell myself. I think I would say just to, even though the building ended up falling over, I think I would tell myself just to focus on that one location.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot lost when you end up spreading yourself too thin. I just found out the hard way. So
When you on that note, when you made the transition, like, did you have a solid team in place that you felt comfortable with? Like, all right, this store is fucking dialed in, and now we're opening up number 2. I got the good people. I'm gonna be good to go. Or
for the most part, but not completely. Like it was like I would have liked it. Really, we got too busy too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't enough time, I think, to develop what you're talking about. I mean, I did have like a general manager in place. I had all the things in place, but it was like, I mean, we really went from, I don't know, we just got busy so rapidly. It was like, it felt like somebody snapped their fingers and we were like crazy busy.
Yeah. Was there something that made that happen? Was there an article? Was it word of mouth?
No.
Like what the how
it was just word of mouth.
Yeah. Okay.
And we went like 2-3 years. It was like fine, but like kind of regular. And then just like out of the blue, it was like, I just remember summers are traditionally pretty slow in Philadelphia. And then one summer, it was the opposite. It was the busiest season that we'd ever had.
Yeah.
And from that point on, every summer we were just absolutely crushed. And it was like tourists and people from out of town and stuff like that were all coming in, and we would just get totally crushed. So I think it was just word of mouth, like everywhere. Word just traveled around, not just like within Philadelphia or the immediate suburbs, but it was pretty crazy. I thought. I thought it was awesome, but at the same time, it does like bring a lot of stress.
More money, more problems. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, it was just so and that was kind of the situation where, people that I talked to, like professionals, they were like, well, it's time to expand, and I think that's what I would tell my younger self. I would say, don't listen to those people.
Yeah.
Just get more, double down on what you got, because like, I know I would have been happier in that situation for sure. And I would have been able to like keep that what I wanted it to be,
Yeah.
And, I feel like some of those elements get compromised if you expand too rapidly or just expand for the wrong reasons. I was expanding because I thought I had to, I thought it was the right thing to do, not because I wanted to. And I think that was the issue.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like opening Screamers was awesome. It was a lot of fun. But I knew I wasn't going to work there long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like almost kind of like a consulting deal.
Literally, it was. It was a consulting deal that just had different parameters. Getting things going with the Seitan company was great. But again, that was in New York. Like it was like I was going to be. It was a similar thing where I would come up with the things, but it was out of my hands in terms of the operations of it. I'm happiest when I'm hands-on running a pizzeria for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Because I wanted to ask this when you just brought it up again. Are the margins on wholesale Seitan pretty good?
On wholesale, yeah.
Commercial, okay.
Yeah, retail's like, retail's always tough because just the packaging costs a lot. And that's like it's just one of those things where the busier you get, the better it all becomes, because you can order more packaging at a lower cost. But wholesale on Seitan is always pretty good. I mean, and it kind of allows us to stay a little like lower in cost to everyone than most other Seitan that's out there.
Yeah. Because
we make it the long way. We like wash out flour.
You make your own vital wheat gluten?
Kind of, yeah. But like when you're using just the powdered vital wheat gluten, I just think it operates differently than making a dough out of like high protein flour and then washing out all the starch.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's a long process. So, but
do you have a machine that does that?
Yeah. So we just modified giant like Hobart mixers to, and we do like the wash, kind of in those. So
crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that, cause that was the washing is the hardest thing from a labor standpoint.
Yeah.
And so it's great. I mean, like, flour's not crazy expensive. So it works out.
Yeah. And then do you have, jumping around, do you have a general manager here?
No, I am.
Because you're here every day.
Yeah, it's really just me and like 5 other people at this place. So.
Well, in this point in your career, how do you define success?
I don't know. I mean, I think success is what you want. It depends what your goals are. You know, I don't think it's attached to anything monetary necessarily. I mean, I am not rich at all, and I feel successful in that I do something that I love every day. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. I think it's what you make of it.
Yeah.
And it has to be a personalized thing. You can't go by the general thought of what a successful person is. I think is nonsense, man.
No, yeah.
I don't think it really has any real bearing on enjoyment of life at all. So,
well said. All right, I'm going to ask you the most important question of the interview now.
Okay.
What is the greatest band of all time, or recording artist?
The Alice Cooper Band.
Oh shit! Okay.
Before it was a solo act.
Okay, the whole band.
Yeah, that was. In terms of influence to other types of music,
yeah,
I think they're largely overlooked because the singer like co-opted it and took the name for himself, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But before that, they were an incredible band.
Yeah.
Just like pumping out albums every 6 months and touring the whole time too. It was wild. But they're also like, I think there's more influence to them that they kind of put into many genres of music, like indie, punk, metal. Like I think they influence quite a bit that they don't necessarily get recognition for because he kind of turned the name Alice Cooper into a bit of a circus.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but
that's the Alice Cooper I know.
That's what most people know.
Yeah.
But the early albums are absolutely incredible, and they were a band. The name of the band was Alice Cooper, and he was not Alice Cooper. He was a guy named Vince. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's not even his real name.
No, it was a stage persona.
Yeah.
And then he kind of he took it and put out another album without the band at a later point. But the early band, they were actually the ones that created before them, there was no theatrics to live music. Like they did it. Like they were the ones that
no Kiss. No Motley Crue.
Yeah, there was no there was no big production.
What are we talking about? Like they got pyrotechnics and shit?
Yeah, any of that. Like people, I swear, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that before Alice Cooper, it was bands just played music on stage. You know what I mean? And I think without Alice Cooper, bands would still just be playing music on stage. They were the first ones to do huge things. They were and they were hugely popular because of it.
Yeah.
They had the Guinness Book of World Records for most people showing up at that time, in '73 and stuff like that.
I got some homework to do.
Yeah, you should look into it. It's wild. I mean, they had 4 albums that, in my opinion, are 4 of the greatest albums ever released, and they released them across 2 years. They were touring the entire time. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's crazy to even think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I'm going with.
I love it. We have not gotten the same answer yet. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Where should people go to get in touch with you if they want to bug you?
Or
just look at your food, your beautiful food.
Yeah, just on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hit up the gram, 20th Street Pizza.
Yeah, 20th Street Pizza, yeah. It's probably the best.
And then bonus question, who did the mural outside?
Oh, this guy, Adam Crawford. And he's awesome. I mean, he's an incredible artist. Yeah. Yeah, and he's a good friend of my friend Joe, who did the build out on the restaurant. And I think he did a great job, man. I love it. Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, it's real good. Real good.
Well, Mark, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
I had a blast. Appreciate you giving us your time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, dude.